All right, how you guys doing today? We about to hop into the review of James chapter 1. The first things first, though. Make sure you like that video, man. Hit a little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and screen it back up. You feel me? I got a question for y'all. Firstly, this hat, it's got the Grinch on it, as you can see. Personally, I think this angle, like if you were looking at me straight on, right, you can't really tell that it's the Grinch, and it doesn't look right. I'm looking at myself in the camera, right? So personally, I wear the hat backwards, and then it's kind of like a downward angle in the back, so that it's easily visible that it's the Grinch and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I just want your opinion, because some people have told me like, oh, you shouldn't wear it to the back. It doesn't make sense, and I thought it looks better to me at the least, right? So you guys can tell me if I am spitting the truth or if I'm not. Second order of business, I cut my hair. I don't know if you guys could see, but I got them waves under there now. My hairline is still cooked. That's just genetics, and that will never be straight, but it's okay. It's okay. So y'all won't see that for a while till I figure out how we want to attack that. And third order of business, if you remember, I think 2 videos ago. Today's Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. Saturday. Friday. Tryouts were Thursday. So whatever video is posted Friday's video, maybe Saturdays or Thursdays, I danced at the beginning. I showed you guys the dances that I did for tryouts of palo and dembow, aka just palo type dancing, and then hip hop type Spanish dance music. Despite me looking like an absolute cornwad, I made both of those I made both teams, bro, and I was like, "Oh, for surely not." I was doing the dance in my mirror, like, how did I actually look out there? I did dances on camera. For sure thought I looked like a cornwad. I guess bro ate it up. Left no crumbs, something like that. Anyway, let's talk about the word. So apparently, this book is called like the Proverbs of the New Testament or something. He mentioned in the sermon. I don't know about that. I just know I like it so far, and I've been excited to get into this book for like 2 months now, and probably even longer, honestly. But it starts off with James, a bondservant of God. This word could be translated bondservant. It's the word that he told us about so many times. Doulos. So bondservant, basically choosing to become a lifelong servant of this thing, right? So for in his sake, God, Jesus Christ, and the 12 tribes scattered abroad. If you remember, if you guys remember, because I definitely didn't, and I wouldn't think to even, we ain't reading that far into it. But if you remember back in Acts, there was this dispersion of the church in Jerusalem. So James is actually the pastor of the church in Jerusalem. So if you remember, there was some persecution going on. Paul was breaking into houses, jailing people, and people went all abroad. Acts 11:19-30. Because of the persecution triggered by Stephen's death in Jerusalem, many of the believers were scattered. Some reached as far as the coast of Lebanon, island of Cyprus, Antioch of Syria. They were still only preaching the word to Jews. So he was writing to Jews, but Pastor Paul made sure to let y'all know that this does still have a lot of stuff that's applicable to Gentiles, even us. Right, so he says, count it all joy when you're facing different temptations, right? Because they were being persecuted. These people were running. They went to dang Antioch. Well, let's see Jerusalem. Boom. So if y'all can see Jerusalem, that's as far as I can zoom in. We can do this. Right, boom. Jerusalem, right in this little crack. People fled to Cyprus over here, Syria over here. I don't think it said they went to Egypt, right? But you get the point. Antioch, Syria, Cyprus, the coast of Lebanon, GS Lebanon. Oh, it's just up here. They were running. It wasn't too far, but they were running away. You get the point, right? So he said, count it all temptation, count it joy when you fall into different temptation, because this works patience, and let patience have your perfect work, that everything may be perfect and you may want nothing. And he brings up Romans 8:28. right? We know that for those who love God and works all things together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose, like we talked about in the first read through, right? And if any of you lack wisdom, ask God that gives unto all men liberally and upbraids not, and it shall be given to him. Now, you don't see this necessarily yet, but boom, Proverbs 2:6. For the Lord gives wisdom, out of his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. Ask and it shall be given to you. Knock and he shall open. Seek and ye shall find. And the Lord gives wisdom, and he says, if you need wisdom, if you lack it, ask God. He gives unto all men freely and doesn't upbraid, aka what did that mean? Without reproach. He won't rebuke you. He won't blame you for asking, because he knows. He knows that he made us weak and sad and unwise, but he has the wisdom. Therefore, we come to him asking for it. Oh, I forgot to mention, right? So even back here, when it was counting all joy, the things that persecuted, he brought up Peter and how Peter will be our example, our theme for the day, right? He said that he allowed Peter to be sifted as wheat, meaning he allowed the temptations to prove to Peter, right? And out of Jesus' mouth came wisdom, right? Because he's the word. The word of God holds wisdom. We ask God, we stay in the word, we can get wisdom. Therefore, let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful creator while doing good. He said, this is the guy who is sifted like wheat, right? Let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful creator while doing good. And this actually ties in with we were over here. I'll wait till it ties in, right? But he says, let no man think he should receive anything from the Lord unless he asks in faith, nothing wavering. For he that waves is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind, and it is tossed, right? And we know that faith, where does faith come from? Romans chapter 10, I believe, verse 24. There's no 24. 14. 10, 17. So then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, right? So we hear the word of God, and by hearing that, we gain faith. But it's not just hearing the word of God, right? You can listen and not hear. That's why he said be doers and not just hearers, right? Because you can hear and not do. Therefore, you can hear and not listen. Some of y'all may be doing that to me right now. You may be zoning out. I may be zoning out. There's parts of the sermon I zone out for, and I got to rewind because I heard it. I knew he was speaking, but I didn't listen to what he was saying, and I didn't understand what I was supposed to hear, right? And it's a full circle. You hear, you listen, you understand. Yeah, because you hear something, you hear it, then you listen to it, you understand, and you understand because you heard it. No, I just lost myself. And he said a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And Pastor Paul was talking about you can't have one foot in with God, one foot out the door, right? That's not how it works. You can't just, but a lot of people, they have faith and they don't have faith at the same time. It's a weird dichotomy. What he was talking about was he said that he knows a lot of people that know that they're saved, right? They know that they're going to heaven. Yet, I'm sorry for hitting the microphone, yet they can't trust God when it comes to days. They can't trust God for income tomorrow, income next month. What's going to happen tomorrow? Am I going to wake up and I got something in this and that, right? And they stress themselves out, but they know that they're going to heaven, but they can't have faith for the next day. And surprisingly enough, after the last video, we actually hit this on the head, right? The rich man is made low because the flowers of the grass shall pass away, right? And this is really just poetry. And he said he's not a big fan of poetry, but it basically just means that though you may be broke in the ways of the world, you are rich in Jesus. And the rich man should not think that he shall always be rich, right? All this stuff can pass away. The riches of this earth will pass away. So focus on the ones later, right? Don't store up treasures on earth, which men can steal and moth can rust away, but store up treasures in heaven where no man can steal and moth can't rust it away, right? So then he says, blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot tempt with evil, neither can he tempt any man, right? And some of the translations, I guess, said trials, that endures trials, but it doesn't make sense because it doesn't flow with the theory, not the theory, the usage of the word tempt and tempted, right? It's temptation, tempted. It's not trials, tempted. It doesn't flow, right? So when a man endures temptation, for when he was tried, he shall receive the crown of life, right? Because God cannot tempt us, right? We're tempted after our own self, right? We're going to see that in a minute. But God will test us, right? In Psalms, it said, Lord, test my heart. He tested Abraham, tested the people in Deuteronomy. I believe there was also a proverb about testing, right? The Lord tests each of us, something like that, right? But temptation, let no man say when he's tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he's drawn away of his own lust, right? When your own heart is after something else, that's when temptation arises, because you've put your heart in a scenario where it could walk away from God. And I was watching this, like, bro, this video is like 8 minutes long on Instagram Reels. I'm like, when did they start making 8-minute long Instagram Reels? Who in their right mind decided that? Because this guy was cooking and I couldn't put the video down because he was cooking so hard. He was talking about specifically men, an example, when they're in a relationship or when they see somebody else in a relationship and a girl is talking about some, oh yeah, this guy, he keeps flirting with me and he keeps asking me to do this, he keeps asking me to do that, and the guy's like, just block him. And she's like, no, I don't want to be rude. And then he's like, that's exactly what y'all do with the devil. You don't pursue God enough to where it's like, oh, this guy's second nature. You don't just block the devil. You're saying, I'm gonna entertain it. I don't want to be rude. I'm not gonna put that sinner behind me like that. And then the guy's looking like, bro, just block him. And we're sitting there like,
no, I don't really feel like it.
so we let the devil think that he has a chance, right? And that's when the temptation starts. That's when it's like, because we ain't fully blocking it out, we ain't fully seeking the Lord, where it's like, if you flee the Lord, the evil will sin from you, right? But you're not fully cutting that junk off. Oh, and I just remembered I skipped a point, not a verse, but a point. He mentioned, right, that when faith comes from hearing the word, it's not just hearing the word and listening and understanding. You got to do a deep dive. You can't just read the word, right? I could read the word. You see how much I miss when I just read the word? I didn't know I was missing out on so much by not studying it. I was just like, I read through the word and I'm like, coming to my own conclusion. Lo and behold, I'm missing out fat chunks. I'm missing a 4-part sermon because it's that much information that I just glossed over in 15 minutes. I didn't take the time to take it in. Yo, I hit deadlifts and abs yesterday. My abs are sore. My upper back is sore. My glutes are sore. My hamstrings are sore. And today I had legs. I went to put the barbell on my, the squat. My back said, we got it done now. Tomorrow I'm about to be so cooked. Tomorrow. I'm not moving. All right, so we're only tempted when we're drawn away from our own lust and entice, and when that lust concedes, it brings forth sin, right? When we have that lust, it brings temptation, and if we have that lust, we're just gonna fall into sin and temptation, and brings forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. So we must cry out to God, and for this, Mark 9:24. Straightway the father, the God of the child, cried out and said, Lord, I believe, help with my unbelief. Lord, I believe, but help with my unbelief, showing that there can be both at the same time. And then one of the verses that I kept referencing during our Hebrew studies, 4:15, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but one who is in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet he is without sin. And if you remember in the Last Supper, he brought up the fact that Jesus said, the devil has no hold on me. Why? Because he wasn't going to sin. He was fully God, fully human. He could not sin, even if he wanted to. Well, maybe if he wanted to, I don't know. But he could not sin in that regard, right? He didn't even give thought in his heart to these things. So, therefore, the devil couldn't have him lust and be tempted because he just couldn't do that. So he had to go and make somebody else sin to take down Jesus. And so he says, don't err, for every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, that comes down from the Father of lights, who with whom is no variableness, no shadow of turning. Another piece of his character, right? He doesn't turn, he doesn't change. And everything good is from him, but that doesn't mean that everything bad isn't also too, right? When we read in Hebrews chapter 12, all the things disciplined, everything that comes with discipline, right? That's for us, that's for our good. And though it may seem painful in the moment, he works all of it for his good, right? So even those bad things, the painful things, they're still from him and they're from above, right? And of his kind, of his own will, he began us with the word of truth, that we should all be the first fruits of his creatures, meaning that he crafted us to be like Jesus, right? This is what he wanted. That's what he said. That's what Pastor Paul said this meant, that he seen us and wanted us to be like Jesus. He wanted to craft us to be like Jesus. Now, what that goes to speak about, I don't really know. I might do a second study because James is what, 3 or 4 chapters total? James is 5 chapters. I was thinking about doing a second study of James, but there isn't much after James, right? There's not too much. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm so tired and I'm focused on getting this video out that I'm kind of sacrificing the quality of this studying. Maybe I'll go back, rewatch the sermons, come back with another like review, see if there's anything I missed. I don't know, but it's not hitting right now. It's just not hitting, and I'm fairly confident that it's my fault, right? Wherefore, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. And he mentions that there is something as righteous anger. Humans don't really exert it well, but Jesus does when he overturned the money tables and stuff like that, right? He can exhibit righteous anger, but humans, mere humans, I don't want to say we do that the best, but you know. For which reason lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. Right? So take the word which can save our souls and bring it in. And that's where we see the faith comes from. We're saved by faith. You read the word, it brings faith and it saves your soul. So bring it in with meekness. And be doers of the word, and not just hearers, only deceiving yourself. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. And then after he looks at himself, he goes away and forgets what he looks like. But whoso looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed, right? If we see the law, continues therein, we don't forget, we do the work, we will be blessed. Even though we're blessed anyway, right? We get the grace, we get heaven. We're blessed anyway, but there's more to come. If any man among you seem to be religious and bridle not his tongue, deceives his own heart, and that man's religion is in vain. And he said that religion in the New Testament is really used in mostly a negative context, but this is one of the contexts it's used in a good way, right? Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction and keep themselves unspotted from the world. And he mentioned that these were just the vulnerable people of their time, because it was often that widows and orphans would starve to death and stuff like that because they didn't have anybody in their corner, right? Orphans, you don't have parents. Who raises children? Widows, they don't have husbands. Women didn't do work back then like that. So without that, these people were gone down. And he said in our time, the vulnerable people seem to be like the unborn. We could see this with the homeless. We could see this with prisoners, stuff like that. People who are likely to be taken advantage of. Prisons, there's private prisons. That's part of the reason I wanted to work in prisons. I was like, spreading the gospel in prisons wouldn't be too hard, because these people, they need something. They need an out. They need something that the world cannot give them, especially in such a destitute place. But the prisons are private. People are making money off these businesses. They're cutting expenses, keeping their food low quality, keeping everything low quality, just keeping them in there to serve their time, and then trying to tack on as much time as possible, which leads to corrupted courts, because people make more money on the private jail, so they're trying to keep people in there. And then the unborn, they don't even have a choice, but they're ending up dead, right? Which, very unfortunate. And then the homeless too. We got places like the place I'm in, right? Other places, they get so cold and get so much snow every year. And then there's homeless people that got to live outside during that. And they're vulnerable to the environment. So whatever those people are, we must keep them in our thoughts, prayers, and in our actions as well. And not just be hearers, but doers as well. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.